The first one I actually want to start with is a business one. So I think we should share some stories with these for each of them to make. Mostly because I want to justify why I thought it was a good idea before everyone like boots me.
So I don't feel like such an idiot. Like,
okay, so when you imagine like I'm running a marketing agency and we're doing like $10,000 a month at this stage, and I have one employee. And to be fair, that was like significant money for me at this point. I like actually felt like I was finding some form of success in life. And then what happened is I managed to pull off a really good joint venture. And what I'd actually done is I'd done a joint venture with someone who had a lot of trust in the marketplace. And I said to that person, I'm like, hey, I'm going to work for you for free for a month. I'm going to do this thing for you. But then what I want you to do after it is share the results. So I did this really ballsy offer of like, like you get something for nothing. I just, I don't want you to pay me. I just want, help with a testimonial and sharing it with your audience, which was like a bit of a move back then. Still probably work today, by the way.
Probably still would. You're right.
Yeah. So what I had essentially identified is like they had a really good offer and like they just weren't marketing it well. So I loaded them up with Facebook ads and it popped. And to the point, it did so well that they ended up saying, well, we don't want this to stop. I want to be your client as well. So I ended up picking up them as a client. They made a video testimonial with me. I then took that testimonial, ran the testimonial as an ad to the audience, and they promoted it on email. And I was like, all right, I've just cracked a winner. My calendar's like filling up with like sales calls and people who wanted to do this thing, right? I've hit a home run. Guess how inflated my ego got on that? Side story for another day.
Explains a lot, Charlie. Explains a lot.
So I got this little agency here that was doing 10 grand a month. And in the space of like, let's say 2 months, we went from that to like maybe like 80 grand a month.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So like hugely rapid growth, incredibly rapid growth. And I was looking at this and like had heard the idea of like, cool, you're getting cash up front. So like you've got a cash flow positive cycle. Don't worry about it. Just hire into it because you're getting money before you do the work. You can always work out how to do the work.
Yep.
Or when I say work out is like you can hire people and, all the rest
solve
of
the problem. Yep.
Yeah. But the challenge where this got disastrous and why it was a huge financial mistake was that because I'd taken on so many people so quickly, even though I was getting money up front, it wasn't huge. I think it was like $1,000 up front for setup and all the rest of them. The problem that I ran into is I needed to hire this entire team quickly.
To deliver it.
Yeah. And keep in mind, not experienced in growing team like I am today. So I went out and I hired these people and like I wasn't necessarily well equipped with hiring offshore or using contractors either. So I hired some local staff and some overseas staff and got all these tools and got all this software. And then what happened is just all the cash just went like a vacuum. So I'm thinking like, on paper, we're doing really well. Like, look at this. Like we've gone from 10 grand to like 80 grand a month really quickly. And we actually ended up even the following months getting up to like 100 grand a month. But then because of the employees I had to hire so quickly who needed to be paid and you do all the stuff that goes with them, set them up, computers, software, all the rest of it, I literally couldn't pay myself for almost 12 months. I had to dig into our savings to float the cash flow of the business. Bianca was working at the time and literally we were using her salary to pay team and keep the business running. So here's me like initially feeling so like, I'm winning, I'm successful, this is all going well, to like I feel like an absolute fraud. Like everyone thinks I'm killing it and I'm this, success story in agency world in the, places I hang out because I was telling everyone like, look what I've done.
Ego for the win.
And then on the other side of it, I'm like, yeah, but I can't pay for dinner. I can't even go to McDonald's. Would you like to come over and we can have toast? Like that's, it was really bad. Like it was like, I was like struggling with this cash suck and like, it was a huge mistake. Like I should have been way smarter in how I approached that. That rapid growth was a horrendous idea, an absolutely horrendous idea.
I think a lot of people listening to this would completely relate to that, where they've probably had a point where they've scaled so quick or they've recruited too many people at a point in time that has impacted their ability to extract their own profits out or their own salary out or foregone some of that stuff. I am curious, like now that you've got the wealth of experience and knowledge that you have now in business, if you went back in time with what knowledge you have now, do you think that you could have like perfected that or delivered that where you would have made profit and actually scaled that appropriately? Or do you think that was pricing and all those kind of things and it was insolvable anyway?
Yeah, so there's probably a deeper financial mistake in that. I did pricing based on what was for the 10 grand a month agency, not the big agency. So it's like I didn't have middle management or like all the tools and stuff we need. Like I was doing some of the work. So I think a lot of businesses go through like pricing when you're small doesn't work as pricing when you're bigger. If I was to go back in time, what I probably would have done, let's pretend I was selling like $1,000 a month retainer at the time. I should have been selling it at like $1,500 or $2,000.
Yep.
And then either charging a bigger setup fee or staging people out to have cash flow come in a better way. So if I was doing like, let's say I was onboarding 5 clients a month, it might have been more. I can't really actually remember. It was like a very, very hectic time. I should have just done like 2 a month and like done like what would you call it? Yeah, staged it way better. Like we didn't need to do it over 2 months. We could have done it over 6 months or 12 months and like actually been far more profitable. And when I say profitable, I mean like the cash cycle of being able to produce cash because profit was still there. It was just that the cash cycle was killing this business. And the repercussions of that is like I couldn't pay myself. I couldn't invest in growth. We had to do a lot of things in a compromised way just because of the endeavors of that decision.
That's not to mention the stress on yourself, like and the pressure you would have gone under.
Well, if anyone looks back at my social media, like goes back to that time, like I had hair. Like I had a lot more hair.
The stress, Charlie. No grass doesn't grow on a busy street, Charlie. But did it all work out in the end, or was like that was like the end of the agency? Like, I want to hear the end of the story now. Like, you pulled me in. Like, what happened?
It's not a bad story, right? I think it's an interesting one. I find these stories so interesting because, like, when I watch people like chasing rapid growth today, I'm like, you don't know what comes with it. You have not experienced it. It's when you've had it, you're like, oh, slow growth's awesome. I like steady,
predictable,
like predictable, and hasn't that shaped the rest of my business journey? Like. Yeah. It's really fascinating today is like I don't chase that growth. But anyway, I won't say digressed in that. Eventually we got through it. Like it just was and that was early on in the agency. So many good years came after that as well. And I will say that it's like we kept a lot of those clients the entire time we were at the agency.
That's
because
awesome.
I was unwilling to let any quality drop. The solution to my problem was, Charlie, you now work 100 hours a week.
Yep.
I was jumping in and saving the day and all the rest of it, and we got through it. Like we did digest that challenge. Missed a ton of opportunities across being able to not do anything else though. But I mean, it's hard to be upset because eventually we did turn a really good profit eventually, but it was not the smart way to do it. Now, if I redid it, I think I probably left a few $100,000 on the table in that year through not understanding these like principles of like rapid growth versus slower growth, cash flow cycles, positive and negative. Like it did cost in those ways where I looked at it and say we could have done a much better job.
Hey, fellow business owner, if this topic and value-packed short video has resonated with you at all and you want to dive deeper into being a full stack business owner, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now.